peeps, I got a request, not for a video specifically, but for, well, to respond to several questions, and I figured it would make another nice little video, just because it's easier than typing out a bunch of questions. No, a bunch of answers to questions. Forgive me if my head isn't screwed on completely tight today. Also, fair warning, there may appear a kitten in the frame, and if so, you are prepared. I was requested to talk a little bit about my origin story, as if I were a superhero. Anywho, this is a very, very broad and potentially deep question. What made me want to pursue music? Well, I don't know at any point that I actually had I don't know how to phrase this. What made me want to pursue music? The lack of desire to do anything but that. It's just one of those things. I've been drawn to it since I can remember, since there was a play xylophone in front of me. I was into music. Hopefully the audio on this isn't horribly crazy. It's a little bit windy out here, as you can maybe tell by my octopus hair. Yeah, what made me want to pursue music? I had to. It's this incessant need, this incessant core urge, like eating or breathing, that you cannot survive without. Or, I'm not necessarily speaking for all of the musicians out there, but for me personally, that is how it is. And yeah, I mean, I trained in it, I studied it, I enjoy it, I have to do it. And so it's the only thing that made sense for me as far as pursuing a musical career path. Moving on. Hopefully that answered it. Who are my influences? I haven't really, I'm inspired by many, many artists, and I enjoy listening to many, many artists in many different genres. I'm not, one of those people that only listens to hip hop or only listens to, nu metal. I enjoy all flavors. And growing up, I would say that the music I listened to probably did influence me more than I realized. So, oh no, are they gonna start construction right now? Shit. Well, here goes nothing. Just ignore that back there. Maybe I should sample it later, and then that'll be worth it. Okay, influences. So, a few of my favorite artists growing up when I was small. Actually, I was probably about the same size as that I am now, because I got my first CD, where I purchased my very first, with my own money, CD at the age of 13, and it was Aquarium. Hopefully everyone remembers that amazing gem. I was really big into like Europop and Eurodance at that time. That's when Spice Girls was really, really happening, and I loved them too. It's funny because I always tell people I'm not really into pop music, but yeah, I would be lying when I say that I'm not into pop. I'm not into modern pop, like top 40. It just, never really did it for me. But the Britpop and Europop, I always kind of had a soft spot for, and still do. I still put on Eiffel 65 every once in a while. So that's kind of where maybe the Electronica influences came from. Also, in high school, my friend sent me a song by Depeche Mode, and I'm like, oh, I've heard this. This is really fucking good. Okay, flip through the entire back catalog of Depeche Mode albums, and I just devoured Depeche Mode. They're incredible. Opa! I'd say that my melodic sense and the way I write vocal lines is probably in major part to Martin Gore, one of the, if not the main songwriter of Depeche Mode. The guy's a genius when it comes to melody. What else? Let's see. High school, I was also very much into Duran Duran, Oingo Boingo, and bands that were popular 20 years before I was in high school. And let's see, what else? I listened the hell out of the Labyrinth score by Trevor Jones and David Bowie. That soundtrack is ace. It is ace. Moving right along to a very good segue of a question, which is, am I an 80s fanatic? Based on my musical influences and my love of 80s movies and 80s movie soundtracks, I'm gonna let you answer that one. Fanatic might be a bit enthusiastic, but I definitely do appreciate and have a lot of love for things that came out of that decade, even though I was only 4 years old when it was over. Is that why I chose Synthwave? I wouldn't say I necessarily chose Synthwave. I kind of just fell into it. When I was working at Apple back in 2011, 2012, I was working for iTunes, and I just naturally was discovering a bunch of music, having to work on their platform and going through the iTunes store all the time for the stuff that I was doing at the for work. And people would send me stuff too, and they knew I liked 80s tunes. They knew I liked it wasn't really EDM at the time, but Electronica in all its forms. And yeah, I discovered the two biggest artists, well, not two biggest, but the first two major artists that I found at the time were Mitch Murder and Tesla Boy. I adore them both to this day, and that's why it was a dream come true to actually work with Mitch. He is the man. If you haven't heard of Mitch Murder, do yourself a favor. Actually, and Tesla Boy. They're both fantastic. So, yeah. I didn't really choose Synthwave. I fell into it, like I said before. I discovered this genre of 80s, influenced electronica and fell in love with it because my favorite artists have always been 80s bands. And I was like, dude, there's people doing this still? This is amazing. I love this sound. And that was kind of before it even before it had a genre label. It was just electropop or electronica or, I don't even know, retro synth pop, I guess? Synth pop, let's just call it that. And the coincidence being that, fast forward to several years later, people were still doing it, people were still digging the sound, and I'm like, you know what? This is my favorite new genre because it's now a thing, and I've been listening to it for years, and it's finally catching on. Yes, I'm one of those people that's saying, I heard of Synthwave before anyone else. I'm gonna be that person. Around the same time as it sort of became more and more popular, I was starting to figure out that I could sing for people. Like, that was something I could offer. And I don't know why I didn't think of it before, because I've been singing my entire freaking life. Like, I toured the globe essentially with choir and did all sorts of music festivals and performance and singing and classical training and all of that, and didn't really want to sing opera professionally, so that's why I didn't continue the voice major in college. But I started out as a vocal major because that's what I wanted to do, was sing, and kind of diverted, took the composing path, and then figured out, well, what the hell, why am I not singing anymore? Why am I not singing for people? People need vocals. And that's when I decided to reach out to a few indie you know, synthwave producers, like, I love your sound. Hey, if you ever need vocals, hit me up. And that is how the track with Stills called Reaction happened. And that was kind of my first vocal collab with anyone in synthwave. And from there, it just sort of snowballed, avalanche style. And it's been glorious ever since. And like I said, I got to work with some of my favorite people, like Mitch Murder, and now I'm working with Scandroid, aka Cell Dweller, and Clayton. He is the bomb. He's actually a really, really super nice guy. And we're working on something, so that should be exciting. Anywho, that is the end of the questionnaire for me, and I hope that was enlightening for you, Phil, because you requested it. And yeah, hope everyone is having a marvelous day. I will leave you to whatever you're doing because this video turned out to be far too long. And for that, I apologize. Mwah.